Hi, and good afternoon. We're here today to look at the data overview for the Special Education Department at Mableton Elementary. I'm Carrie Newman, a special education teacher at Mableton, and I will be leading this presentation today. The purpose of this presentation is to review the demographic changes at Mableton over the last 3 years, as well as the math results from our students in the special education program from the Georgia Milestones Assessment. We will also use this data to identify possible causes for low achievement among the special education population at Mableton Elementary and identify strengths and weaknesses with current instruction for our special education students. Some questions that we might consider throughout the presentation are: what are current student strengths regarding math skills? What weaknesses with the math curriculum? How can teachers affect positive change? And how can the special education department use short-term data to more effectively support these students? Let's begin by talking about CCRPI scores. According to the Georgia Department of Education, the CCRPI includes four main components: achievement, progress, achievement gap, and challenge points. These components, encompassing multiple indicators, are combined for a total CCRPI score on a scale of 0 to 100, with a possibility of 10 additional points. The CCRPI also reports other information such as the performance of student subgroups, school climate, and financial efficiency status. Taking a look at the last 3 years of CCRPI data for Mableton Elementary, we see that Mableton has consistently performed well below both the county and state, though we have made inconsistent progress from 2015 to 2017, growing from a score of 54 in 2015, regressing back to 53.7 in 2016, and shooting up to 65.5 for the 2017 school year. One possible cause for the lack of growth from 2015 school year could be a change in administration. Mableton's principal of many years retired at the end of 2014 school year and was replaced by Pamela Kane, who had no prior experience in the position. It's possible that this, combined with other factors that we'll explore later in the presentation, was a part of the cause for our initial dip and then upswing in CCRPI score from 2015 to 2017. Looking at Mableton CCRPI scores by category, we can see that we've made the most gains in the progress and gap categories from 2015 to 2017. Moving from a score of 25.2 to 34.5 and 4.2 to 6.7 respectively. Let's take a moment to break down Mableton's CCRPI scores for 2017. Achievement scores are calculated based on the percentage of students who are developing, proficient, and distinguished learners on the Georgia Milestones Assessment, performance of ELL students, the percentage of students with disabilities who are served in general education environment for more than 80% of the day, percentage of 3rd and 5th grade students who are reading on or above grade level, percentage of students completing career awareness lessons, and student attendance. Based on all of these factors, Mableton Elementary received 22.8 out of 50 possible points for achievement. The progress category, right here, is based on the percentage of students earning a typical or high growth on the Milestones Assessment compared to other students with similar achievement. Based on these factors, Mableton received 34.5 out of 40 possible points. The gap category, here in red, is measured by reviewing the school's bottom 25% of students and the state average. The gap size indicates the score that the school received. Based on Mableton's data, we received 6.7 out of 10 possible points. The last category, which is challenge, here shown in purple, is based off of innovative practices in the building as well as student subgroup performance relative to state targets. These subgroups include economically disadvantaged students, students with disabilities, and English language learners. As you can see here, Mableton received 1.5 out of 10 possible points. Looking at our enrollment over the last 3 years, we can see that a significant portion of our student population, an average of 82%, are eligible for free and reduced lunch, making Mableton a Title I school. This number has remained pretty consistent over the 3-year span. As we look at our second largest student subgroup, students who have limited English proficiency, we can see a small uptick in this population, growing from 27% of the total student population to 30% in 2016. Taking a look at students with disabilities subgroup, we actually see a decline from 2013 to 2017 as the population went from 11% to 10%. Because the school population has grown, however, these percentages actually only indicate a difference of 4 students in this subgroup, having gone from 106 students with disabilities in 2013 to 102 students with disabilities in 2016. Overall, Mableton's enrollment is fairly consistent throughout the years, going from a total of 964 students in 2014 to 1,025 students in 2016. Looking at the current reality for 2017, we can see a large increase in both the special education and ESOL populations at Mableton. I felt it was important to show the increase in both subgroups as 40% of our students being served through special education program at Mableton are also served through the ESOL department. Our special education population has grown from 10% to 14%, which is 102 students to 136 students, and our ESOL student group has grown from 307 students to 330 students from the 2015-2016 school year until now. Let's take a look at the math domains and structure by weight. For third grade, 35% of this math portion of the test is going to be based on numbers and operations, 30% measurement and data, 10% geometry, and 25% operations and algebraic thinking. For fourth grade, the largest portion again is going to be numbers and operations, specifically dealing with fractions. Then number and operations with base 10, 20% operations and algebraic thinking, 10% for geometry, and 20% for measurement and data. Moving on to fifth grade, the largest portion again is number and operations with fractions. Number and operations in base 10 is 25%. Operations and algebraic thinking is now only 10%. Measurement and data is 20%, and geometry is 15%. Moving on to take a look at Mableton's milestone math scores as compared to both Cobb County and the state of Georgia, we can see that Mableton is consistently performing as a school much lower than both the county and the state, with only 26.3% of our students performing at or above proficiency, as compared to 47% of Cobb County students and 43.2% of students in the state. We also have 26.6% more students in the beginning category than Cobb County and 23.4% more students in that category than the county. Looking at our specific subgroup of students with disabilities in the same mathematics category, we can see that while no data was available for this subgroup for the 2013-2014 school year, we do see an increase of distinguished learners, which is very good. However, we do also see an increase in beginning learners from 64.5% of the special education population to 79.7%. As we continue to dig through the data to try and hypothesize possible reasons for these gaps, we can take a look at teacher demographic data. Taking a look at the certificate level of our teachers, we can see that there's an increase in teachers at Mableton who have achieved only a bachelor's degree or of higher education, increasing from 26 educators to 34 educators from 2013-2014 school year to the 2015-2016 school year. In line with that, we also see a decrease in staff members with master's degrees from 32 teachers in 2014 to only 24 teachers in 2016. This lack of teachers with advanced degrees is one possible explanation for the decrease in math scores that we discussed in the previous slide. Another possible cause for the decline in math scores could be the number of years of experience that our staff has. Looking at the 2013-2014 school year, we see that we had only 6 first-year teachers, which increased to 9 and 18 respectively for the next 2 years. This indicates a high turnover of the teacher population at Babelton, which could possibly cause inconsistencies in instruction. We can also see from the data that we have a decrease over time in the number of teachers with 1 to 20 years of experience and a greater than 30 years experience. Though an increase in the number of teachers with between 21 and 30 years of experience we've seen. Another possible cause for our decrease in milestone math scores can be explored through attendance data. Looking at the number of absences for our students served through the special education program, we can see that from the 2013-2014 school year, we see an increase in the percentage of students who are absent 15 or more days throughout the school year, as well as an increase in students being absent 6 to 15 days. Even the best teachers with many years of experience and advanced degrees will not be able to serve these students if they're not present at school. In summary, some strengths that we have for our students with disabilities and their math scores include consistent enrollment. We consistently have around the same student population from year to year with minimal variation. We also have an increase in teacher population with between 21 and 30 years of experience teaching at our school, which will help our newer teacher population who might need additional support in lesson planning, classroom management, or remediation for struggling students. We've also recently seen increases from our progress and gap scores in the CCRPI, which have increased our overall scores from a 54 to 65.5 from 2015 to 2017. This increase in CCRPI score, along with our recent acquisition of Advanced Ed STEAM certification, will entice more qualified and experienced educators to look towards Mableton for job opportunities, which in turn will benefit our students. Our STEAM certification will also help to engage our more struggling learners. Some areas of weakness that we should consider going forward include the number of and operations strand of the math milestone exam. This is consistently the largest testing portion of the exam, and as such should be a large focus of instruction in our classrooms. While no strand data was available to dig through in this presentation, it's safe to say that this is an area that needs to be hit hard throughout the school year in order to show growth on these assessments. As it stands, no students with disabilities have been able to achieve a score of distinguished learner on this assessment. Another weakness that should be addressed is teacher experience in higher education. A disturbing downward trend has been identified with our staff as we see less experienced teachers with less advanced education teaching our students. Mableton Elementary needs to ensure that these teachers are receiving consistent support as they grow in their profession, or our students will ultimately suffer. We also see a trend of increasing student absences among our special needs population. As mentioned before, even the most experienced teachers cannot teach students who don't come to school. Now that we've dug through our data and identified some strengths and weaknesses, I have a few questions that I'd like you to discuss. How can we improve student attendance, specifically with our special education population? How can the special education department better support our less experienced teachers? How can the special education department use local data to improve test results? After you've had a chance to discuss these questions with a group or with a partner, we need you to create an appropriate action plan to address our identified weaknesses. Make sure that you keep our team norms in mind as you consider this task. We also need to decide how to collect and analyze our student data. As always, if you have any further questions or concerns, please communicate those to me and I'll try to help you or point you in the right direction. Thank you for your participation today.